Cold outreach sucks, and scraping 500 leads doesn't make it any better. So instead of playing a numbers game, I built a workflow that's automatically going to scrape job posts on LinkedIn and be able to pitch them a service that we know AI can do. In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how you can scrape job posts using a URL from LinkedIn and Bright Data, find the right contact with Apollo, and get a personalized email generated all inside n8n. But first, let's jump into a demo and see exactly how it works. All you're going to need to do is come and do execute workflow. We're going through the bottom one here today, but you'll get access to these other two as well if you want to. The reason for the bottom one is I think it's going to be the most useful for all of you. We're going to open up this page here just to get our feedback coming through. We're going to be able to put our discover by URL in there. In this case, we're going to be scraping all of the different customer service jobs that are going to be posted in the London area, because we know that voice AI and chatbots are really good at being able to solve this issue, so we could pitch it to them instead. We're going to come down here and submit this information. If we come back across, we're going to see here that it's going to automatically trigger scraping the data through Bright Data, one of the leading platforms out there for us being able to scrape data without any bot blockers. And they've got some really great connectors already set up, like here for the discover by URL, which is incredibly cheap to run. It's only going to be 0.015 per record that we extract. And you've got 3 different ways that you can do it. We're doing by discover URL because any job that's been posted and live on there, we're going to be able to scrape back. If we come back across to here, we're then going to go through and extract all of the different offerings that come through. So for example, as you can see here, we've got hundreds and hundreds of jobs that have all been scraped: job description, full-time, part-time, company URL, when it was posted, the number of applicants, and so much more. And you'll be able to get a personalized emails that come out the back of this. If we come back across, once we've scraped all of this, we're then going to be going through and being able to come across and scrape Apollo, which enables us to get so much data about the individual. And it's only going to cost us $1 for 1,000 leads that we get back. And in this use case, I figured out a way to keep that cost nice and low. If we come back across, once we've scraped all of that data, we're then going to be going through, adding them all into our database and choosing that correct decision maker to be able to email. Then all you need to do is upload it into tools like Instantly, and you'll be all ready to go straight away by sending out those personalized emails using the custom variable setting. So as you can see here, we've got loads and loads coming in at the bottom, and just to show you there the correct date, as you can see here, latest date time, we're coming through and adding all of these different ones in. We've already got a couple of hundred. When I come back across, we'll be able to show you the executions, which is currently going through at the moment. And I'll show you what this looks like at the end before we go through and do that personalization. And as you can see here, we're going through and we're extracting all of the key data around those individuals. So for example, here we've been able to find 56 different contacts associated with that company that have come back. We've gone through, removed any duplicates, and then we've gone through and found that out of the 9 best possible people for the UK and the London role that we're after, we're going to store a couple of them ready to go for the 2 that we need for a bit later on. And if we come back across to our Airtable, as you can see here, we've got all of the ones that we've gone through and filtered through this evening. And we've got them being added in here so that we can go through and use them as we need. And again, just play around with it, see what finds best. All of the contact details will be in here for the specific teams. And you'll find that some of them are really good. They're really what you need. Or perhaps you just need to have a bit of a manual step in here and come through and extract that manual person as mentioned on there. Sometimes it mentions it in the scrape data and sometimes it doesn't. And we've had all of the information in here for that specific job as well as the person we're contacting. So as we can see here, we've now got some really good outputs that we'll be able to use to email that individual straight away. So if we come back across, what we should see here is that we've now got that detail ready to go with a really personalized insight. For example, here, we'd be able to go through, instead of it being an icebreaker, we could do a really personalized email. I'm not a cold email expert, so there's definitely better ways of phrasing it. But now we know that that person A needs our services, and B, we're able to go to them with a really specific email. So if you want to get access to this, all you need to do is come across to our community. You'll get access to this for free as part of our 7-day free trial. Come into classrooms. We've got so much content in here that you'll be able to use and get access to. We're going to come into where we've got our AI agents. We're going to scroll down to where we've got LinkedIn posts with warm leads and AI. We've got all of the curl requests here ready to go. But if you come right down the bottom, you'll be able to download this blueprint, come into a new environment, up to the top, import from file, and then you'll be able to upload the JSON and it'll be all ready to go for you straight away. The only thing you need to do is change the API keys. But let's get into it and see exactly how we can make this one. Now, as mentioned, we're going to be building this one out today, so I'm going to delete these other ones here for now. There we go. Now we can go through and get all the data. So I'm going to be using a form input just because it helps us keep that data nice and structured. Now, as mentioned, we're going to be using Bright Data and they've got lots and lots of different tools available. We're coming across to the LinkedIn specific ones. And if you want to find that, all you need to do is sign up for an account, come across to where they've got the web scrapers, come across to web scrapers library, come down to LinkedIn. You'll find all of these different ones in here. It doesn't matter which one you click, but we're looking for the job profiles with the URL and the API scraper. And then what you'll find here is all of the details and it will show you an example input for all of the different data that we're going to get back, so the results. And we've got all the different fields that are going to be here. So as you can see, if I just expand this, we're going to have 26 different fields that come back. And we're only paying 0.0015 per record that comes back. And the great part about this is we don't need to log into LinkedIn. We don't need to give it any cookies because, for example, if we come across to Appify, you'll see here that they've got some which you can use, but they're going to be either a monthly charge associated with them already. So you're going to have to pay for that, or you're going to need to be able to do it with your cookies, i.e. logged in so you can use it. So this way we're bypassing all of that and keeping our costs nice and low. But coming back, let's gather all the data. So we're going to do LinkedIn URL. We're then going to add a form in here and we'll do LinkedIn job URL. We can add different forms in here if we want to. Now they don't have a URL at the moment, so we're just going to be doing text. What we want to be able to do is execute this step and it's going to load up this screen for us so we can add it in. Now, one of the really common use cases out there that's getting lots of market traction is around using AI in customer service, especially around chatbots and voice AI being able to bring that cost to serve, i.e. cost per ticket, down lots, but many companies still haven't implemented this. And if you want to see which companies are interested, that's where going on to platforms like LinkedIn, we can see all of the available jobs, perhaps for customer service representatives, and then London and the UK for a specific area. You can add any filters if you want to, which will update the URL that we've got. And as you can see here, loads and loads that we'll be able to choose from, and it'll continually update as we go through. And this is great data for us to be able to use because we know they've already got the pain point around customer service. So let's see how AI and automation can help them. So once you copy the URL, come back across, and then you want to paste it in here. Now when we do submit and come back across, we're going to have that URL saved in here for all of the jobs with that specific profile, i.e. customer service reps in London, UK. Now if we come back across, we're going to pin that to use a bit later on. We'll bring that down here. Now if you've got the different ones that you want to add in, so the different paths, that's where you're going to need to use a switch. And then depending on the URL field that gets entered, for example, if you want to be able to use the LinkedIn job URL, you can say this one maybe is not empty, i.e. it's got data in it. And that's just where in our original one, if I show you in here, what you'll be able to see is got the 3 different routes based on if it's empty or not empty. We're just going to copy this discovered by URL and then add this in here. So we've renamed the output that's going to be coming through. Actually, let's get rid of that because we don't need it for today. So we're going to go through and need to scrape all the job URLs. So as mentioned, that's going to be our Bright Data platform and it's going to be discovered by URL, i.e. scrape all of the data that's associated with that job description or that job role that is currently posted on LinkedIn. So to do that, as mentioned, you want to come across to web scrapers, web scraper library, LinkedIn, and then you want job posting information, discover by URL. We're using the Scraper API, which is nice and easy to use. They've got an example here, but if we come across to the API request builder, this is where we're going to be able to set it up. Now, you need to make sure you got the webhook turned on, and we're going to be able to add in here for your webhook so that you can copy it nice and easily. Your API key will also be added automatically, so all you need to do is copy this, come back across to your page, pull up here, HTTP request, import that curl, paste what you've copied from Bright Data across, and it's going to load it up for you all automatically. We're going to need to add a few different parts in here, like a webhook a little bit later on. And if we come down here, we're going to need to change the URL. So to do that, change it to expression and open up. Then what we can do is remove this left-hand side here and put across that URL from the left-hand side, which is all around that specific job description that we want to use. Now what we'll be able to do is if I come out of here and do save, we'll be able to rename this just to trigger job scrape, and then it's going to be able to go off and do it for us. And as mentioned, we're only paying 0.015p per record, so incredibly cheap to run this. If we come back across, we're going to come into here and execute that step, and we're going to get this snapshot ID back, which we need a little bit later on. Before we go through and actually get that data back, we're going to need to give it somewhere to go, which is our webhook. So we're going to need to come out of here. We're then going to need to add a node, which is going to be a webhook. We're going to be able to add this on to here. What you can also do is Bright Data do have a node that you can actually use, which is a community node. So you just need to go through and install it. And then you can do retrieve data by snapshot ID, which is just a different way if you want to do it. You need to add your API key in here. And then if you want to do it instead of a webhook, just connect them up. And then what you need to do is pull across that snapshot ID, do execute step, and it will pull all of the data back, but it's not ready to go yet. That's why we've got not found. And if you want to see how long it's taking, well, what we need to do is come back across to Bright Data. We're going to look at the logs. And as you see here, it's currently running in the background, and it takes around 2 minutes to go through. So if you're going to use it in this method, what you'll need to do is come and add a wait module, and then you'll be able to go through, set it to wait for say 2 minutes, and then it will try and get that data back. The reason that I really like to use webhooks is because then it's going to run it on demand. So what this means is when we run it, we don't need to wait or adjust that time that sits in the background in case there's any variance. It's automatically going to get the data back and run it the minute it completes. So we'll add our webhook back in here. We'll add that down the bottom. You're going to need to add a production URL just because when it's running in the background automatically, this will be the one to use. We need to change it to post, and we're going to come out of here and do save. Now, if we come back across to where we've got our HTTP request, we're going to need to just update where it says your webhook. So now what will happen is when we send the request off, it's automatically going to send it back into this workflow. So we've got everything in one place, but it's going to automatically trigger this step and the path to go through and do the rest. So if we come back across to Bright Data, what we should be able to see is that we've got the logs complete, and there we go. It looks like we're done in 1.5 minutes. So we know it works great to be able to trigger that request. If we come back across to our n8n environment, what I'm going to do is actually trigger this again, just so we can get some new results to be able to run this. Make sure to activate this scenario so we can use that webhook, and then we're just going to trigger this again to make sure that we get that data back. So there we go, we've now run all the data, and as we can see on the right hand side, we've been able to get 964 different records returned, and again that's costing us 0.014 per record that came back. If we come back across, we'll also see that in 7 milliseconds it was able to generate that response. So now if we were able to come into here, we can do show data, we can do JSON, and as you can see here, there's so much data we'll be able to use and be able to leverage to get the insights that we need. Now, we're going to come into copy to editor so we can use that data a bit later on. What we're going to need to do is use a split out module because currently we've only got one result that we're able to process, as you can see. we need to break it out so we've got each of them. So we're going to close down headers, pull across body, and then execute step, and we should go to this 964, which is all of the unique records, to be able to get that back. So we'll just come through and do execute step, and there we go. We've now got all of those results back for us to be able to use. So we've got the page of that job that was posted, the ID, we've got the title, the company, company ID, location, lots and lots of data that we'll be able to use, so we can go through and do it in a bit. And critically, we've got the company URL for their LinkedIn page, which is going to be really useful in a little bit to get some data back. What it also means is if there's anything in here particular you want to be able to filter down on, maybe you don't want all 964, you can come through and say, anything over 200 applicants we're going to go for, or if it's over a month ago, we know that they're really in need for it, so we're going to reach out to them, and we can do that. We're going to store them in Airtable today, just because if you're using something like Google Sheets, you're going to have a rate limit for the number of records you can upload. We're going to do create a record. Now, if you've not used Airtable before, you need to come down and create a credential with your access token. To do that, you want to come across to Airtable. Again, you'll get access to all of these tables ready to go in the community. Come across to where it's got Builders Hub. This is going to open this page here. You want to do personal access tokens, create a new token, give it a name. So for example, YT, and then demo. Add all the different scopes in here so that it's got the permission that you need. And then all you need to do is at the bottom is give it the permission for all of the resources, because then what it will do is give you access to all of the different bases. Create a token. We'll do YT demo LinkedIn, create a token, copy this, come back across, paste in there, save. It will go green and you'll be able to access all the bases. We've already got our account ready to go though, so we're going to flick across to that. We're going to do record and then create. We're going to find our base. Now that's going to be if we come across to our Airtable. The base is what you've called it in the top left here. So for example, LinkedIn generation, and then you've got the different tabs that you'll be able to use as tables. So we'll come back across. We're looking for our LinkedIn, and then we're looking for lead generation. We're then going to come down to our tables and do discover by URL, and it's got all of the information in there. Now we can put it across. So for example, we've got the job posting ID, we've got the job title, we can add in the seniority, we can do company name, and as you can see here, lots and lots of information that we're able to use. So maybe you're doing some trend analysis, seeing if there's different areas that really want what you offer. Or for example, at the bottom, you've got the pay range as well. So you can see maybe how much your solution costs versus a human equivalent trying to do that job. We're going to come through and add some more information in here. So for example, we put across the industry, we can do company URL, job type, we can do full-time, part-time. Function could be the team you're in. So if they got customer service, for example, or if we come down the bottom, job function, there we go, we can add that in there. Days since past, so we could look for 2 weeks ago, number of applicants. We've got the apply link as well, so if we come a bit further up, that's going to be that specific URL. We'll then come across to salary details. You can add any of that in there, job base, pay range, company LinkedIn data. All this we can remove because that's going to be specific to our request a little bit later on. So for now, I'm just going to get rid of this, and we can do job-based pay range. We're going to add in there. It may show up red. That's just because just all of the different fields are not always populated. Some of them are, some of them aren't. So now what we could actually do if we wanted is we could do a filter. And what we could do is put across where we got the base pay range. We could say string is not empty. We can do execute step. And then what this is going to do is go through those 964 roles and filter it down, so we've only got one that specify the base pay range for this job. So there we go. We can see that we've got 113 with that base pay specified. So there we can see £15 per hour, but we've got rid of 851, which aren't as applicable. So now if we do execute step and we come back across to where we've got our Airtable, what we should see at the bottom here, actually if we get rid of the filters that we've got in here, is we should see all of the records that we've just generated coming through the bottom so that we can use them a little bit later on. So there we go, executing the node. And if we come back in here, what we should see is right at the bottom from all of the different results, is we've now got the new ones coming through. So that 113 that we'll be able to use a little bit later on. So if we come back across, we're just going to wait for this to finish, and then we're going to be able to go through and trigger that scraping of the company LinkedIn details to find some key contacts. So there we go. We've now got all 113 added into our Airtable. So now we're going to come through, we're going to use another Bright Data module, which is collect by URL for the company information. This is so we can go off and get specific information about that company. We're going to get rid of these examples here. We're going to add a webhook in here. We're going to do your URL. We're then going to come up the top here, copy this curl requests, come back across, add a HTTP module, paste that curl into here, and it's going to be set up for us to be able to use. So we're going to need to come down the bottom and make this dynamic. So we're going to pull this across on the left hand side. We've got all the different fields in here, and what we need to do is find the LinkedIn URL with the LinkedIn URL in here. So if I get rid of that, pull it across, what we've now got, one of the features I love about n8n is on the right hand side here, we can see exactly what's going to be sent off in this request. We're going to need to add our endpoint URL. So to do that, we're going to come down to where we've got the scrape contacts. We're going to add another webhook in here. We need to make sure again it's production and it's post, and then what we can do is add that in here. What you'll also notice is the end here needs to be different to the end here, otherwise it will try and resend it through the actual webhook that we had before. So don't duplicate them, always add them as a new one. We're then going to come in here, copy that production URL, back up to the HTTP request, and paste where it has URL. We'll come out of here and do save. We can now do execute step. So it's going to go through, and for the 113 different companies, we're going to scrape all of the data associated with that company's LinkedIn page so we can use it a little bit later on. We'll wait for this to come back in our webhook, and we'll be able to see what it looks like. So if we come across to Bright Data, we can see that we are scraping that 113 different results. They're taking about 4 seconds to come back. And again, it's only that 0.001415 per record. So now if we come across here, what we should see on the executions is lots of unique snapshot IDs coming back. So now if we zoom in, what we'll be able to see here is we've got one example request that came back. So what we're going to do is copy to editor so we can go through this one example together. So if we open this up, we can see here that we've got lots of data about that company. There's some of the LinkedIn employees mentioned here. It'd be really great if we could get it scraped directly from LinkedIn using something like Sales Navigator. We're definitely having a look into that. You've got other companies here which are similar. Maybe they would want some AI and automation as well. You've got their latest posts as well. So what the latest comments are, loads of different stuff they'll be able to use to get that personalization. The key part is though, we're going to need this website because it's going to how we structure our actual URL that we're sending off to Apollo, which is going to be how we scrape all of the contacts for this specific company. We're going to come back across. We're then going to come into here and we're going to do a basic LLM chain. We're going to need to change this to define below. We're going to add a prompt and we're going to come out of here and add some information a little bit later on. We're going to come back across to the community just because it's got all of the data ready to go, as well as the curl requests that we used a bit earlier on. The first part is going to be that company name. So we're going to paste that into here. And as you can see, it's automatically updated. So we know that Grad Bay is one of the roles and one of the companies that are needing to use it. The prompt, we're going to come down here and copy all of this. We're then going to come back across and open it up as an expression. And as you can see at the bottom here, we've given it an example URL from Apollo, which has been filtered down. And what we're looking to do is change the company name at the end. So for example, Google, we would look to change to be, I think it was GradBay. Yep, there we go. Just as one of the examples. Now what we can do is execute the step. It won't work. We need to come through and just add our basic LLM chain in here. One of the features I love that they've just released is the model selector as well. So if you've got different use cases, you can add that in there. For now, we're going to add OpenAI. We're going to keep it on ChatGPT 4.1 mini, or we could go down to Nano if we wanted to keep that cost super low. We're going to re-execute this step, and now what it should do is output that URL for us, which will enable us to use it a little bit later on for our scraping with the Apollo lead generator in Apify. We'll come back across though, and as we can see here, we've now got the output of one item with that updated URL. So what we're going to do next is another HTTP request. Now we're going to come into the community because we're going to need this curl request here, which will enable us to do the data scraping using the Apify tool. We're going to import the command in here, and it's going to be all loaded up for us nice and easy. Now, up the top here, you'll see a long URL. You need to make sure that this ID here matches the ID that's in your Apollo lead scraper up the top here. You'll see the input in here. So what we're looking to do is have a placeholder in here for now. Number of records, you need a minimum of 500 that are going to be scraped, and you can go through and add any more features if you want in here. We're going to do the JSON as the input. So for example here, again, all you need to have is this. So if we copy and paste that down the bottom, we'll be able to send it off as needed. But as mentioned, we've made the changes so we can use it straight away. All we need to do is put it as expression, and we've got that JSON text auto-populated from the left-hand side. We're going to need to go through and add our API key. So come across to Apollo, come down to settings, come across to APIs and integrations. Then we're going to come down and create a new token. We're going to do linked in JD. We're then going to copy this one here, come back across and paste after bearer. Now what we're going to be doing is using this run actor and get dataset items. So it's going to run it, get the results, and come back to us. And again, this is incredibly cheap to run. If we come back across, you're looking at $1 per 1,000 leads that you get back. We've got another video on the channel, make sure to check it out, which uses the Apollo scraper specifically to get lots of data that comes back so we can do some personalized outreach. We're going to come into here. We're going to be able to come down and press execute step. And now what this is going to do is go off and scrape all of the information it can find using Apollo to do with this company. We're just going to wait for this to come back, and then we're going to be able to go through and store all of this data. So we'll open this back up. As you can see here, lots and lots of different ones. We're going to add an aggregate module in here. We're then going to put across some of the key fields that we need. So we're going to change it to all items. We're going to do specific fields because we only want specific ones. Now you can put it across like name, emails, the one that you want. I've got it all ready to go though. So we're doing name, title, LinkedIn URL, email, headline, department, seniority, and city. We're going to come out of here and do save. We'll just move these across slightly so they're all in the right box. Now you can also save all of these contacts maybe for the future. So we're going to come through and do an Airtable module. We're going to do search a record because what we want to do is find where we're going to store them for that specific company. We'll change to expression, and then we're going to pop in this command here, which is going to be the name of the company from our webhook a bit earlier on. We're going to need to add our LinkedIn table in here just so that it's got that base and the specific discover by URL table. So we'll add LinkedIn lead generation and that discover by URL. We're going to need to execute the previous step just to see all of the different data ready to go. This is going to put it into an array for us so we can go through and iterate it in the future, as we can see here. Now, if we come out of here, we're going to get rid of this first part here because what we need to do is go back to the start with our webhook, and we need to find the company name that we sent across. So for example here, what we should be able to find is company. So there we go. We can do company name in there. And as you can see, it's now GradBay that it's searching for. Now, if I do execute step, what we should get is any of the records associated with this coming back to us so we can go through and update them with the information as we can see here. So we know that we've got 4 items that have come back. What we're going to do though is remove any duplicates just to make sure that we're only adding it to unique fields. We're going to say remove items repeated within the current input, and then we're going to come through, execute the step, And what we should get is maybe 1 or 2 out the back instead of the 4. So there we go. We've now removed any duplicates. So we know we've got 4 unique opportunities that have come through, and we can go through it and use these. So we're going to do another Airtable module. We're going to come through and do update a record. We're going to need to add our base in here like we've done before. We're going to come down to here, make sure we're matching on the ID. We're going to pull that across. We're then going to delete all of these fields. So there we go. We've now got all the company LinkedIn data ready to go. So if you open this up, you can put across as much as you want from what we scraped from this HTTP request a little bit earlier on. We're going to paste in here. It's going to be from our webhook 1 that was at the start instead. So you just need to go through and change it to webhook 1. We're going to do that quickly now in the background, because what we'll find is on the right hand side, as you can see, all of the data updating straight away, which is specific to this company. We're going to come through and do execute step. And now it's going to go through. If we come across to our LinkedIn tables, Airtable, sorry, what we should see is some of the fields starting to be populated in here. So there we go, all updated for some of those fields. As you can see, the 4 different ones to do with Grad Bay. Now what we'll do is we'll come across the left hand side. We're going to do a filter on the grad company just so we can see it in the future. There we go. So now we've got those 4 unique fields and they've been updated with that specific information. So now we want to go through and make sure that we're storing the rest of the data. So we're going to come back across. We're going to come out of here and do save. So now we're going to come through and do a loop. This is so we can go through and have the personalized emails for each one. We're going to get rid of this because we're going to come through. We're going to do air and then table. We're going to do get a record. We're going to make sure that we're all connected up like we've had in the past. We're going to execute the step before, just so we can put across our record ID. So we'll wait for this to come back. There we go. Now we can put across the ID. And what it should do is return all of the details, just in case it's not come through that first time. We can make sure that we've got everything ready to go. After this, we're going to do a basic LLM chain. This is where we're going to add in our prompt to make sure we find out who that specific decision maker is. So we can do define below. We're going to come across to our community. We're going to copy where we've got that suitable contact. We're then come back across. We're going to change it to expression and add it in here. We're then going to add a prompt, which is going to be our instruction to choose that right person. So we'll come back across and then we'll copy it in here and then paste in there. And as we can see, we're now passing across all of those different individuals that we've been able to extract. In this case, there's only 2. We're going to do execute step. We forgot to add in where we've got open AI. So we'll just add that in now. And then what it should be able to do is come through and choose those 2, i.e. we've only got 2. So it should choose the 2 specific individuals that we need to add into our Airtable as those contacts. So we'll wait for this to come back. And then what we're going to do is update another field with Airtable. So we'll add that in here. We'll do update a record. But as you can see, one thing I forgot is we need to split out the output. So we'll come back in here, require a specific output. We're going to add where we've got structured JSON and then pass that into there. Just a guide on how we want it to come back. So now if we rerun it, what we should see is a much better structured output that we can use straight away to update our records. Let's come through and connect this all up. There we go. And we've got the results back on the left-hand side, which is much better and easier to use. We're going to add our ID. So that's from a bit earlier on where we did get a record. We're then going to get rid of all of this information in here, because then what we can do is add our contact IDs in here. So we'll open this as an expression, come back across. We're then going to copy this, come back across to n8n, paste in there, come back across, get the second one, copy, and then add into here. And then what we can do is if we paste, we should be able to do update a record. And if we come across, what we should see is this contact 1 and contact 2 get updated there. We can see in the background with the specific contact information. So now if you wanted to automatically generate an email to those people, you could add another column in here, which is just personalized email. Check out my other video that covers how to do that much better for getting that personalized insights. This shows you quickly how we can go end to end on getting some on scraping lots of job data and getting specific buyers' contact details so we can reach out to them straight away. If we come out of here and do save, what we're going to do is have a set node up the top. And this is just going to be a placeholder. So what it will be able to do is iterate through for all of the different ones that we've got. Oh, I forgot to connect it up. So once we've connected that up, what we'll be able to do is re-execute the step, and now it will loop around for the 4 items. So if we come back across, what we should see is the other fields start to get updated as well. So what we can have is that personalized contact detail for every single person that we've been able to get that job description for. And if we wanted to take it to the next level, add the personalized email on the left-hand side, add a column like personalized email. All you need to do is a basic LLM chain. And then what this will be able to do, basic LLM chain, we can add the information in here. So if we close this down, we'll be able to come through to create a record. We could say job description. We can open this up as an expression. We could pull this across for the job summary. We could add in some other key details. This is from the video that we did earlier on last week, all around how to do personalized emails using Apollo. So now, for example, here we've got, hi Louise, with grad base focus on fast-paced client services. Imagine expert consultant stepping in could help, but this could be changed to maybe that customer service, that voice AI, whatever it is. There we go. I've gone through and added a prompt in here, which is going to be all around offering our services. And we've had all of the information in here for that specific job, as well as the person we're contacting. So as we can see here, we've now got some really good outputs that we'll be able to use to email that individual straight away. And we can come through here and update a record. So we'll get rid of contact 2 for now. And we can execute by adding that personalized email across. So next is going to go through and add it into Airtable. So if we come back across, what we should see here is that we've now got that detail ready to go with a really personalized insight. For example, here, we'd be able to go through, instead of it being an icebreaker, we could do a really personalized email. I'm not a cold email expert, so there's definitely better ways of phrasing it. But now we know that that person A needs our services, and B, we're able to go to them with a really specific email. And that's a really quick video just to show you on how to get you set up and started using Bright Data to be able to scrape leads, add personalized emails, and much more. Definitely come across to our community. You'll get access to all of these resources for free from day one, plus much more. All of the resources in the link below. Stay tuned for more around AI agents, automation, and have a great day.